It's a Whitney core couldn't make it. She's a family issue and could Texas second first that local transmission Zika, so called on duty. And she was my former PhD student and employer. She was part of the ATSB team, so I gave the talking. She didn't have time to prepare. I'm talking use my slides. Yeah, it's a ATSB. That's the name beginning. I didn't agree, but now the patterns everywhere use there. So that's still confusing. Terminally, we try to use called attractive target sugar base, but it's almost the ATSB. So I mostly introduce my work as a biogas. That's in mid of 1990s when I worked at USDA. That time called a medical veterinary entomology laboratory. Now that they changed it almost 12, 13 years, changed the Center for Medical Agriculture and Veterinary Entomology in Gainesville. I worked there 10 years for repellents. So during the work, I reared mosquito, raised Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus. They're interested in my mosquito cage. One day, all 5 ants get in. So I said, what's happened? The 5 ants eat my mosquito. So then they asked the 5 ants guy, the scientist, what can I do? He said, I use 1% of biogas, mix 5% sugar. You put it in the container, put it in the cage. I said, okay. And I following his advice. Then next day, oh my gosh, my whole cage mosquito died. I thought, what's happening? Then I go into literature, check a reference, what's happening. The biogas may be good for stomach poise for mosquitoes. Actually, lots of references about for caricature and for flies, but not anything for mosquitoes. Then I started using for testing different situations for mosquito. Then we published the first paper in General Economical Entomologist in 2003. Then after that, we get it with Dr. Guantanamo Izuri, Hebrew University. Then it got a more association, cooperation, also Weston, Clark. So that's a project funded by multi-agents. Beginning funded by Bill Gates Foundation twice. Then it's funded by the DOH, Department of Defense, also funded by the NIH, and the current funded by IVCC, but major emphasis malaria. So that's the background here. It's Aedes aegypti because everybody talking about it. I knew that. Continue breeding mosquito was a big vector that for that's one. Or ATSB that is called a nerve method for control of the mosquito. That's biogas is very common as a chemical. You can wash air, it's everywhere you can buy it. So that's a very effective stomach poison. So that's you can buy everywhere. Also, we did some parapraxipine, that's IGR, and combine with ATSB. So we try to do different way. Everybody knew that mosquito depend vegetation. Many years ago, we more pay attention to mosquito, the relationship between mosquito and the disease. We really forget about it. Mosquito, the relationship between mosquito and the plants. Everybody knew that. 100% of male feeding what? Feeding plants. So female can feed in blood, feeding plants too. So we use the behavior, feeding behavior. So try to develop that what's called attractive toxic base. So for new control method, you can see that here. Also the interesting, just before coming, I have one postdoc that did a few months, confirm, use low doses ATSB, could stirring the mosquito. They're interested in the male mosquito, or feeding sugar, or feeding plant juice. So use a low concentration ATSB treated plants. So male eat, the male died. Because the male is usually 12 hours, at least 12 hours emerging earlier than female. So kill male. What will happen to female? No opportunity mating. So they lay less number eggs, so the eggs couldn't hatch. It's a kind of a story. That's just to get confirmed. He used a laboratory colony, did 3 replication, but I didn't include this one. That's the objective for the experiment, almost 20 years. Yeah. This take a long way for development. You see the slides in Nicole, almost have some products marketing by Western Israeli company or by Terminix USA. So the bait station and some liquid, some actually include garlic oil, include junior oil, the different. Some include insecticides. But some insecticides with a repellent action, you have to be very careful. So the objective to determine the efficacy of biogas sugar bait spread on plants against the adult mosquitoes, and to determine the efficacy of persistence of mixed baits, biogas and pyroproxyfen spread on plants against the larval mosquitoes. So that to determine the dissemination efficacy of pyroproxyfen through feces deposited by adult female mosquitoes. It's mostly the results published in Journal Medical Entomology and the Journal American Mosquito Control Association and Ectotropical. So that's we use the two species. Mostly use Aedes albopictus because our area mostly that's a species to deal with this. So biogas we all use 1%. Pyroproxyfen we use 1 ppm. So with a very common species plant around the residential area. So that's the reason you treated the vegetation, very common species around your house. That's the way percentage mortality, 48-hour Aedes albopictus, resulted in 1% of biogas in the sugar base. We spread it on the plants around just in the cage laboratory study, treated on flower and no flower. You see the results similar. So they can keep about 3 weeks. Biogas lasted longer. Yeah, that's why we did some semi-field tests with biogas. We treated the neighborhood and spread the leaf top and the leaf bottom. Then we collect leaves, bring it to laboratory, use cage, test it. So look at how long lasted and the efficacy and the mortality, 48 hours. That's what we collect every week. After collect leaves, you can see first week has about 90% of mortality. Then second week, third week, they lasted about 2 weeks. So the leaf top, leaf bottom, no matter what you treat the top or bottom, that still work. Let's stop. Okay, that's what we did a field trial in neighborhood, residential area. So we treated use the back pocket spread vegetation, use 1% biogas bait station. Then we use monitor the population by BG central trap, also OV trap and the landing rate count before and post after treatment. So you can see the percentage reduction, Aedes albopictus by BGS traps. You can see the keep about 3 weeks. The first week is 78%. The third week is still about 80% and 90% reduction. Then we continue. Like about some could be on the dependent rainfall. If it has more rain, it could last a little bit less. That's the number of eggs tested by OV trap. We put OV trap, then collection. In the beginning, you can see pre-treatment and the post-treatment. First week, we still collect lots of eggs. Even in treated area, more eggs because it didn't last there. We measure stomach poison kill adult female, grand female too. Then from the second week, third week start working. You can see reduction compared with the control. That's a landing rate count. So you have to look at the 3 weeks after treating in the neighborhood. You can see the landing rate count is 3 minutes. It's standard how many mosquitoes coming to you. So volunteer. So we have to keep about 3 weeks. Second week is a little below 85%. Also depend on weather. So if you're doing field work, you know what I'm talking. So this is the Dr. course, yeah. That's a semi-field is a bed mixed with pyroproxyfen spread on the plants. That's a very common plant in Florida, Florida neighborhood. You can see most of the homeowners keep that in front of the yard. And so we bought it from a Home Depot after washing and dry, make treatment. Also, we washing after the ATSB mixture of the pyroproxyfen after washing, then introduce the mosquito larvae in the solution. Look at what's the function. Maybe the kill adult mosquito if they didn't kill that residue after rain wash, they're going to the breeding sites. The IgR, very low concentration, still affect the larvae. So it has two functions, multi-duty, kill adults and kill larvae. Yeah, this is the percentage emerging inhibition. That's for IgR term. So Aedes albicans exposure solution, weekly wash. So they keep about 3 weeks. Even for week 4, still have the 30% of the emerging inhibition. This is a two function. This is the emerging inhibition of Aedes albicans exposure to solution through that fecal. So we treat it with low concentration ATSB and mixture with the parapraxifene. And the female mosquito eat. After they eat, they drop the feces. It's unbelievable. The female mosquito drop a lot. So we use field people and white field people. They diet the female. After drop, we collect the drop and washing and the liquid become liquid. Then introduce the mosquito larvae in the solution. Then look at the emerging inhibition. They still have about PPP still have about over 50, about 60% emerging inhibition. That's what we just published in Journal of Medical Entomology. This is in conclusion. Biogas sugar-based spread on plants result in significant mortality, reduced number of eggs, also the landing rate count, and adult population. It's work. It's simple. So that's something not on the marketing. Our residents all ask, I don't want to use other kind of pesticides, any kind of method. So they saw some paper we publish in wind-based as a local newspaper. They come and pick it. I said, oh, buy 1% of biogas. If from Home Depot and Lowe's, they have a biogas 98% for agriculture. They just put some water, put some sugar, they spray on the yard vegetation. They'll kill mosquito too. The mosquito come to kill, at least kill male. Male definitely eat, no matter Aedes aegypti, Aedes albicans. Male definitely come to eat vegetation. If you're in-house, you have any plant, you make a treatment that can kill males. And biogas sugar-based mixed with parapraxifene spread on plants, resulting in significant percent emerging inhibition. And its effectiveness lasts for 3 weeks post-treatment. Biogas sugar-based mixed with parapraxifene provide effective control of adult and larval Aedes albicans. Where I mentioned Aedes albicans, Aedes albicans mostly like the neighborhood, mostly the outside, they like vegetation. So that parapraxifene mixed with ATSB through adult mosquito feces provide 50%, 7% emerging inhibition. Just talking about this is the multiple agents cooperation project. So thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. So thank you our visitor science student, the many people at the board support and lots of cooperation. Thank you very much.